Hello and welcome, subscribers and new viewers. My name's Stencil Fox, a freelance self-taught digital artist who works on YouTube videos and other art on many other social media platforms. My channel mostly revolves around art and storytelling, with a wide range of original characters and fan artwork. I've been drawing for over a decade, and the first digital posts that I made were back in 2017, with a rough beginning to my art journey and YouTube journey. I didn't really know what I wanted to be when it came to being a YouTuber at the time, because every content creator before me was working on animation memes, which I found fantastic, and I wanted to do animation memes. I made a list and started making them year after year. I also wanted to do many of the storytime animatics or storytime animator content, but I found that it really wasn't something that I could keep up on. I felt this at the tail end of 2021 when I got my iPad Pro 12.9-inch tablet and Procreate and started focusing my videos more on what I felt best fit for the channel, especially when I hit my first major milestone of 1,000 subscribers at the tail end of 2023. I took it very seriously. I changed my main channel's mascot and persona to be Stencil Fox, and I had sorted out a lot of my videos so that I wasn't making 10 bulk posts where I was focusing more on the quantity instead of the quality, and set it back to 1 to 2 uploads per month on Wednesdays or Sundays, or both when I had the time, as well as shorts and other social media posts as a sort of portfolio to show off my comics, fan artwork, original characters, illustrations between these uploads. I wanted to focus more seriously on upgrading and rebooting as well. When the tail end of 2025 happened and I was reflecting on my art journey thus far, I made the switch from Procreate to Clip Studio because I knew that I needed an upgrade to my tools, same as I did years ago when I went from a sort of Metabang Paint to Procreate kind of upgrade, because everything that was offered in that art program at the time was something that I knew I needed that switch up for if I wanted to keep improving on the techniques and skills that I was developing, just with more upgraded tools. My tablet is well over 5 years. This iPad isn't going to last forever, so I got myself a Huey on Canvas Slate 11. Except, that's now outdated. Correction, I sold that tablet a few months after testing it and making that video, and now have a replacement of the XP Pen Magic Drawing Pad. But I'll get into this more in a future video. Because my iPad still holds on by a thread, I am using that until its final kaput, and I will always be backing up everything that's on it on an external drive, so that when the day comes, I will still have everything that I have put onto this tablet, and I can put it onto my future tablet. Another thing is, for this channel, I wanted to refine the playlist so that you guys can actually see the speed paints ranging from my original characters from projects to fan artwork and the art challenges and storytime videos, whether they're from real-life experiences that I feel are worthy of sharing, or the whimsical side that might have some guest voice acting from some of my friends to bring these characters even further to life. Now, I used to make animation memes and animatics, and there are still playlists, new and old, but I feel like these are more of a backseat where they're going to be more for special milestones, because my priorities are more for illustrations, stories, and comics, and other long-form content that will require me to actually pull back, take the time to do these edits, and add little tiny details from sound effects to pop-ups on screen, and it won't take me forever to work on it, because when I was making 10 videos a month in the previous way that I'd scheduled myself, I was rushing out content to be able to make a bunch of animation memes and stories all back to back, which flip-flopped, which meant that if you wanted to catch up on whatever I was talking about in those, there was so much that you guys had to thumb through, and I felt I would rather remove all the content that is irrelevant to the channel and projects that are cancelled or that are in reboot, and remove all the old unrelated stuff that isn't canon anymore, and focus solely on what is happening for the future, for 2026 onwards, so that way if I do have to take future hiatuses and you're not caught up with the previous videos, you have tons of playlists to go through, whether you want to check out the animation memes, the speed paints, the stories, it's all there. And if you're not wanting to watch some of the videos, you can also click links to be able to check out some of the comic pages or other posts that I've made on other social medias in the meantime. The way that social media is now, it's gotta be fast, it's gotta be short, it's gotta be eye-catching. And I feel like I can still do eye-catching videos that are entertaining to watch from start to finish, it's just that it's gonna take time, and the way that the chaotic element of surprise, when every week or every month something new keeps popping up as a trend, I realize that I need to disconnect myself from that. It's why I stopped posting to places like Twitter or X and on Instagram, because I feel like every effort that I put in was showing mixed to no results, and I wasn't reaching a wider audience, and it made me feel envious and the fear of not being a good artist, that my stuff was not worth it, and all of the ambition and intention was failing for one reason or another, and I was losing that spark and connection to projects that I spent so long on. Narrowing it down, YouTube, wherever I post my comics to, be it webtoons or my own platforms, and one social media that I could post all of my content to with a general, steady, small flow of people who can regularly check in and see that I've made a post, whether it's a new illustration, a comic page, or a notification that I've posted to YouTube. That was enough for me. I didn't need one of every kind of social media as like a gambling gotcha thing where I'd spit out my art and see what got results for. It's why when I have stuff like TikTok, I make it for fun and I throw out content that's whimsical and fun, but it's not always something that you guys have to check in for constantly. That's why I focus solely on the long-form content with YouTube with my original characters, fan art, and stories. A lot of what I have in mind for YouTube as of 2026 onward is the projects that I cannot wait to share. They've been in redevelopment and a reignited spark and passion for it that I feel like my old videos just didn't show as much, because with these concepts, new and old, the priorities have shifted dramatically. I hope that for 2026, you guys can see all of that culminated with everything with the projects. Specifically, my long-form webcomic called The Dawn of Gales that I put on hiatus back in 2023 and talked about in a video about the reboot for 2026, which is still in full swing. I've already reworked the first 10 chapters, and you can see the first about 9 to 10 chapters already still on webtoons, but when I do actually complete the reboot, not only will the first 10 chapters be redone, where I'll delete all of the old episodes or chapters and re-upload them as the reboot, one by one, I will then have the next 5 to 10 chapters ready to go so that I can have a consistent posting schedule while working ahead of time with it, with chapters in advance. The way that I should have done it from the get-go, but being new to making a webcomic in webtoons format, and also at the time posting 10 videos a month to YouTube, around that same time, while trying to be both a YouTuber, comic maker, all that stuff, it was all new for me, and I was learning from that, and part of that failure is what drove me to keep trying harder to be able to figure out what works and what doesn't. And also, when going through my portfolio, I realized that a lot of what I made was, some of it was good, and most of it was not good. I was not looking forward to going through and getting rid of a lot of my old projects, because some of them I was so proud of at the time, but I realized that it is irrelevant to the channel, it is irrelevant with my art, and the portfolio that was filled with nothing but filler, in my opinion, needed to go. With all the stories that I have that I want to share, I also have personas and fursonas that best fit that some of you may recognize. Spice the Protogen has been in many of my animations because I wanted to show off the fluid movements of these characters with a wide range of emotions. Same with Blight when I shared some more personal stories that had a darker tone to them that was more serious. I have whimsical little characters that I want to show off more for, and I can feature them in sort of splash art style kind of illustrations. And as for fan art and art challenges, a lot of these videos, I want to be able to have it be where you learn alongside me. I wanted to show off these techniques through observation and break an old habit where my comfort zone left me boxed in to what I call the one-for-one mimicry, where when looking at my references, I wasn't pushing for color, anatomy, proportions, or any real creativity with these pieces, and just because I could draw it didn't mean that I was actually having fun while pushing that creative envelope. What I mean by this is building up a skill of visual library to learn how to be able to properly push the proportions and anatomy that fit my style, but when it came to making my own original characters versus making fan artwork, I kept things to their original source material. Essentially, it's like taking a photograph of something and then you're trying to copy that one for one. I call this the grid by grid method that my school used to teach me that I still hate that it's drilled into my brain. This was mostly for still life. This was mostly for if you're trying to draw realistic. But even when trying to look at a reference now, I see it so literally. I have to eye drop and color drop everything to make sure that I'm getting exactly what I see, instead of adding that creative color and pop to set the mood, and I hate that so much. And before I go any further, I would like to clarify that using references is important, and something that people shouldn't shy away from. What I mean by this is that I'm trying to build up a visual library without having to constantly use these references as something that I become so codependent on. Using references for something new that I've never seen before, like cars or trains, in a particular piece, or learning something from a completely different angle, is something that I will utilize them for, and it is great for if you are looking at something, and in the case of fan artwork, if you don't know what a particular creature or character looks like, you can go look up that reference. But sometimes it's taking that next step of the imagination of what would this character look like from the side, the top down, or anything like the interior versus the exterior of a location if you don't have that reference, and being able to push and expand upon this without needing references that you would depend on constantly for it, where if you needed it, you have the option to use it. That's what these tools are for, and why people create 3D models constantly or have reference photos that they may even go out and take, or even taking pictures of themselves to utilize. And this is very important as a skill to develop. But for me right now, in my art journey, I'm trying to develop that skill where I can have a visual library of these characters, locations, over time, so that I won't have to use them as often when repeating projects, especially for comic pages where I'm going to need to be able to draw these things over and over again. But right now, I'm at the stage where I feel like I do need to utilize references and get back to learning that observation skill, where if I look at something, I can then, in my brain, perhaps rotate it and expand upon it, so that way, for my own original characters and projects, I can then take those lessons that I'm learning and develop my skills so that my techniques can evolve with me as I grow as an artist who's still learning to this day. I also hope that with this, I can share, through sort of a visual aid, a way that means that people won't be so dependent on it, a different method, so to speak, so that you can spend more time working on something that you really enjoy rather than feeling like the time that you're spending doing all of these studies is wasted. Because I feel like I did so many studies with character design that backgrounds were my biggest struggle, where they could show implied textures, but I ended up using brush stamps instead of figuring out how I could personally figure a combination. I'm not going to draw every single blade of grass, but I also feel like if I'm drawing characters in the grass, how am I supposed to use those brush stamps to make it look like my character's feet are actually trudging through the grass to make a path, and so forth with any kind of illustration. Making the characters feel like they're actually in the environment instead of spending so much time on the background that it disconnects from the characters, where they do not look like they are a part of that environment. It looks like perhaps you spent so long creating a super detailed, either realistic or cartoony kind of background, and then your characters don't quite match that. The same with how if you don't get the lighting and the mood right, where your characters might be neon, while the rest of your background is neutral colors, unless that's the intent behind it for a striking visual means. If I'm making it consistent for comic pages, I need to make sure that the characters look like they fit in the environments, whether it's day, night, or anything in between. And most of this starts with a sketch. And with sketches, I have been trying to utilize my sketchbook more. However, with my latest sketchbook, when I had filled up about half of it, I had stopped because I became overwhelmed. I essentially abandoned that sketchbook halfway through when I realized that the deadline for the sketchbook tour was the next day, and I didn't have it finished. I didn't want to flood that sketchbook with a bunch of filler pages. I also didn't want to force myself to draw when I didn't feel like I wanted to draw. Sketchbooks are something that I feel that every artist can have ready to go, whether they're taking it with them on their travels or whether they have it at home at their desk with tons of art supplies in their little art station. And a lot of what I was using and what I wanted to draw, or something that I felt like I needed to do warm-ups or studies for, started to become a burden, and that was terrifying because I realized that I didn't want to have to abandon this sketchbook, and I had a sketchbook tour deadline. So instead of forcing myself to do that and not finishing a bunch of character references for digital means, I decided to put that video on pause, and that's why last month's video was not uploaded, and I posted a bunch of shorts in the meantime while working on this and the next videos, because I would rather spend more time to boost the quality of those videos rather than focusing on quantity. And especially with the sketchbook tour, regardless of whether I fill in that sketchbook or I show off that half and start a new sketchbook, there will be a sketchbook tour in the works, because I'm wanting to develop those skills and techniques, not just with my digital works, but with everything that it starts from, which is the sketches, the foundations, everything that I've compiled together into a portfolio of all these finished pieces that look amazing have to start from somewhere, and I wanted to show the wonders and flaws that art has. With those mistakes, I can learn from them and grow from them. And this is for all of my OCs and fan artwork. With all of this, these challenges that I've done, old and new ones, I don't want to give up on. And that's something with my art journey that I want to share for everyone, because those artists that came before me were what had inspired and motivated me to make my videos and content, and be an artist, not just a content creator. You can be an artist without having to be a content creator, but in the growing platforms of networking and everything for boosting yourself online, that has become a part of it, but that never stops you from being an artist. No matter how overwhelming the platforms are, forming a healthy mindset and relationship with your art on whatever platform you feel is best to post on is the main thing. Doing it for fun, not because it is something that you are hoping one day it will be your job, because that is something that everyone wants to strive for, but it's not something that you should have as your beginning goal. You want to do it because you want to, and that's what I do with all these characters, and why I've taken it so seriously when it came to rebooting my projects and refining my channel, so that I could narrow down, instead of doing everything under the sun and juggling all these different things and hoping something sticks. I'm narrowing it down to what I really want to do and what matters most for me behind the scenes, to be able to show up and be proud of what I'm posting. And I never expected all of these milestones, because it's a reminder for me that even if I'm making one video, tons of illustrations, comic pages, everything, the fact that people show up and are interested in what I'm talking about, what I'm drawing, the comic pages, my OCs, the stories, everything in this vast world of art, it means that tons of people are showing up for the content that I'm choosing to share. Because I could keep most of this to myself, but being able to share these creations is something that I don't want to take for granted. I have to seriously thank all of you who show up for these videos every time. When I look and see the over 1,500 subscribers who have come to see my illustrations because I've made them, hear what I have to say when I talk in these videos, that support on my chaotic art journey means the world to me, and I cannot wait to share more of what I have in store for 2026, and I thank you both new and returning subscribers and viewers for showing up as I sort of reintroduce myself on YouTube, because all the changes that I kind of hit everybody with at the end of 2025 and the start of 2026, where I gave my main channel's persona and a chibi-fied form so that I can show off more of the fun content that I have in mind for stories, but also rebooting my webcomic that has been on hiatus since 2023, as well as all the playlists compiled together so that you can check out not only old videos but new videos in case you aren't all caught up with all of the different types of projects that I have put together for you. So if you want to see any particular content that you've subscribed to the channel for, you have it all in one place. Another thing with this and the adjustments to the channel is also the fact that for the next upcoming art challenge with Art Fight, I plan on leaving links in the end of each of the videos so that if you guys would like to check out my Art Fight profile, you guys can have a direct link to it, as I have changed the name on Art Fight to match, so I've got Stencil Fox YT, because I plan on spending the next couple of weeks updating all of my characters' reference sheets that I will be posting to Art Fight, and preparing for any of the users who are going to be participating in Art Fight once they reveal the teams, and I pick my team by selecting a bunch of characters in my bookmarks so that I am prepared for the start of July, so that I can post the video towards the end of July where I post time lapses of all of the attacks of the characters that I have drawn for other people, and compile any of the defenses that I receive from other artists of my OCs as a big thank you. And I'm afraid that's all the time that we have for today's video. Thank you so very much for joining, and I hope to see you all real soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to join the Subscriber Squad to never miss an upload. While you wait for the next upload, check out some of the playlists. If you'd like to see your fan artwork featured in the Subscribers gallery, tag me in it, as I love getting to see what you guys can create and sharing it to others on the channel. My card link is below, and if you'd like to further support this channel with exclusive Patreon rewards, Fennec Foxes for £2 a month gets you access to all of my work-in-progress sketches. Arctic Foxes for £5 a month gets you access to exclusive Patreon-only content, art videos, and comic pages early. Red Foxes for £10 a month gets your name read out at the end of the videos, just like this. Special thank you to Frankie Jr. 13. Stay possum, subscribers.